So this will be a real quick youth center Christmas update. Not a whole lot to show this year, but I do have one thing. Also, you can kind of see it's snowing outside, which is kind of cool. This is something I've wanted to do since I started coming here and realized that these are sconces. Yep, red and green. They're Fight LED 25 watters, or 25 watt equivalent. It's a little thing, but it's kind of festive. I've also got the old Air King, or actually Comet Air box fan running to help pull some heat out of the sanctuary into the lobby area here, which it definitely helps. I mean, it's probably 5-10 degrees warmer in here because of that. But yeah, thought that was kind of cool. Honestly, next year I'm probably thinking about doing some like C7s or C9s at least, maybe around the, maybe pretty easy. All you gotta do is just put some hooks up and just go like there. And shoot, could even use the air conditioner plug and switch since that won't be needed during the winter. But, yeah, no, that is pretty freaking cool. The sign of the snow. Oh yeah, it's definitely coming. It's that kind of like wet snow, but pretty cool. Anyway, I just wanted to show that. Thanks for watching. Hey guys, so it's Rick and Stuart here tonight at Youth Center. I've got a pretty exciting update to show you guys. This is just the lobby as we've seen many times. But as you guys know, I've been doing a lot of work in the Youth Center basement, showing some of the fan installs that I've done down there. There was one notable exception in terms of being like poorly lit and not really any fans. And I had the idea the other day, and this wouldn't have been possible without Stuart. We had to do some pretty crazy ladder maneuvers, but notice there's chains here, and it's probably not going to show real well because it's dark. But let me pull that chain. We now have a Emerson round nose in the stairwell of the Youth Center basement. And this was kind of a neat place to put it, because as you can see, what's left of the original tin ceiling, possibly one of the few details dating back to the pre-Rex era. Obviously it's in pretty rough shape, but the fact that it's still up there at all is pretty cool. And I thought that having an antique there would be pretty cool. What do you think, Stuart?
Yeah, it complements the space. This is like one of the few areas where you could see the pre-Rex, so having a
you still need to figure out some of that wiring back there, but again, you could definitely tell this is probably one of the oldest parts that survives of the building. You can see that's got that chimney flue thing that kind of resembles a paper plate up there, and that very cool tin ceiling, which as you can see, it was covered by a drop ceiling. Drop ceiling probably in the last like 20 to 30 years, and before that there was another layer of drywall above that. But that up there is what it was originally, I presume, when this place was built. So pretty cool that's there. So anyway, let's demonstrate it. It is 2-speed, and if you guys saw it briefly, I actually did have this hung in my apartment for a little while. It was in my doorway, and while it did look good there, it was a little noisy, and I thought I wanted a different fan. But this one actually looks really good here. It matches the era. This one I was told is from 1930. I didn't see any like obvious date stamp on it, but someone did say it was that. And also the finish is repaint. I think it was originally black, and then it got covered in like some sort of like kind of beige paint on the motor and like pink paint on the blades. I mean, it was clearly like, you know, a homeowner special kind of thing. But I went ahead and redid it in brown, kind of like blender brown, and it's got the integrated fitter. I don't know exactly what age that globe is, but it definitely looks like it could be original on it. And as you can see, we do have the one of the original levelers is still on there as well for the light. So, but yeah, it's 2-speed. I think it would have originally been 2-speed as well. I assume the speed coil went bad at one point in time, and somebody, presumably a collector, replaced it with a capacitor. So we actually have, it's factory high, and then there's a capacitor for a nice aesthetic glow. So much like a blender fan, it's high off, low off. So let's see, it's gonna be higher right there. That's off, and that's low. It's a nice aesthetic glow. It's what we've called tubular close to the wall right there. I mean, you've got maybe a ½ inch, but it does clear, and on that side we got pretty good clearance. It's hard to, I know it glares a lot on camera, but we wanted a brighter bulb since this is really the only light source in this room. But you can definitely see it does shine upwards a bit. I don't know what the deal with this was. I assume this was for this. This is one of the walls of the kitchen right here, just the other side of it. I assume that was put up to mount those walls. But those are structural, so they can easily hold a fan, no problem. And then I'll also go down for a kind of bottom of the stairs shot there.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool from the bottom. I stood down there too and looked up at it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Kind of looks like it could have been there.
Yes.
But, okay, and then there, as you can see, you got the 2 chains long enough to reach. Let's go to high. Does hum a little bit, but I mean, it's par for the course for round noses, I think. And this is easily on par with a 36-inch blender.
Oh yeah.
Airflow.
Not more,
yeah. The airflow pattern is kind of interesting because you get both. It's getting choked a little bit by being the walls being so close, but you also have the extra clearance above it.
Yeah, it's able to pull from.
Yeah, it can pull down. Yeah, right. So we can kind of.
That'll be really interesting in the summer too. To see.
Yeah. No, and I definitely. I mean, I feel air bouncing off the wall,
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's definitely doing something. Not too much wobble either, which is good. It's high off, low off, so here's back to off. I am running 30 weight oil on this thing since there did appear to be a bit of shaft wear. It seems to help. So, pretty cool stairwell install. Certainly was interesting getting this up.
Yes.
It was a combination of using the very tall death ladders, we've called it, and propping it up against that right there. It's the only way we got it to work, but
It was sturdy.
it seemed to hold, no problem, didn't have any issues, so pretty good spin down. Yeah, you can, the end of the light glares a bit, but you can definitely kind of see the brown finish that I did on it. It's actually on a ball socket, and since this is a 36-inch antique, I felt okay using that. It's not a cheapo ball socket either. It's one of the like pretty higher quality ones, so seems to hold just fine. So what do you think overall? Is that worth my like sketchy ladder?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. So.
I love stairwell fans, especially when they're antique.
Yeah, no kidding. And if we were gonna put an antique, I think this would probably have been the room to do it.
I think 1930. That's when the tin ceiling would have been exposed, so it's all.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, no, the tin ceiling. Yeah, Jonas and everybody seems to think it's probably original. So whenever this part of the building was built, so I mean that'd be like late 1800s, maybe very early 1900s. But yeah, this is an old round nose. Like that's definitely the 30s or earlier pre-modular switch housing one. So. All right, and yeah, we do have to still figure out something on that's going on over there too. There's like clearly was a light circuit. It's confusing what might have happened. So what I can tell you is that wall definitely can finish this room. Like this room stopped there originally, and I think there was another room over there, which they ended up making the rest of the kitchen. And over the years, they've kind of just added bits of drywall and things to section it off. But I think originally that was one of the walls, and then that went to something on the other side of that is now the bathroom. A lot of questions, but this is definitely an interesting look at the building because this is kind of the one bit we've got that does predate the 1940 update. So, all right. Well, anything else?
Nope.
Bye, FanStick.
I think so.
Hey guys, so we're in the youth center basement once again, and I've got a couple of pretty big updates to show. If you guys saw the previous one with Stuart, you might know that there seems to be some chains hanging there. Yes, finally got a stairwell fan. As you can see, that's the kitchen area. This is the stairwell going down, and we now have a 36-inch Emerson round nose. Just kind of looking at it from the stairs. There we go. And it's on its low speed at the moment. And we thought this was a particularly cool install since above it we can see what's left of the original tin ceiling that most likely dates to, it's one of the few surviving things that dates to before the Rex Theater era, so before 1939 or 40. That's probably late 1800s, early 1900s, we would think. But we thought this antique Emerson would be a pretty neat choice for the hall fan here, or a stairway fan. This one's from 1930, I was told. I don't know if there's any way to verify that, but somebody told me that. This actually was a changer fan originally, and it was, I think the motor was black and the blades were most likely a wood grain. When I got it, it had gotten kind of covered with like a cream colored paint on the motor partially, and then there was like a kind of pink paint on the blades. It was very clearly just, you know, remodel, somebody trying to update it type thing. But yeah, I ended up redoing it in blender fan brown, and I know it's hard to see because of the bright light, but the canopy is kind of it's actually on a ball socket, a good one, but nevertheless a ball socket. And the canopy I used is loosely similar to a blender fan. But yeah, this thing turned out really cool. I think it looks really neat there. And you can see we've got those long chains going down so we can adjust it. It's 2-speed. It actually, I think it would have been 2-speed originally from the factory, but it now has a custom low speed as shown, and then obviously the other setting being high, and it's high off, low off, much like a blender. Yeah, if I turn the light off, we're probably not gonna really be able to see it. It's just gonna look dark, so I'll leave it on just for this. But yeah, I think this is pretty cool. Shot. So. Okay, let's go ahead and turn it to high. The globe, I think, might be vibrating just a sketch, but usually smooths out once it's on. There we go. It is definitely powerful. It's funny because I feel like being so close to the walls, that might hurt its airflow, but it also has that empty space above the beams there, so it can kind of pull some air down that way. I may redo this wiring at some point, but it's functional for now. Especially if we end up, you know, changing how the kitchen's set up, it might make more sense to just run that wire over into the kitchen area, but yeah, no, it is cranking out a breeze, that is for sure. Kind of looking up from the stairs. All right, and let's do spin down. I had this thing installed briefly in my apartment, and while I did really like it, it hummed a little bit more than I would like. But overall, it's still a good runner. It's definitely good for, you know, youth center basement type install. So we're not really going to leave this on too much anyway, and if we did need it on high, you know, probably wouldn't care about noise too much. Yeah, this is definitely an older round nose because this is before it had the modular switch housing. Like the switch housing with the light fitter is actually the entire piece, and that also seals the oil cup. And I'm actually running 30 weight oil in this one as well, since it has a little bit of shaft wear, probably from running dry at one point. So there's off. And I'll turn off the light, even though I don't think we're gonna be able to see much. Yeah, unfortunately that's gonna be too dark, but we'll definitely get some pictures. There's back on. And we'll turn it back to low. Very much like I'm not actually sure who picked this capacitor for the low speed, since it's actually a custom low. I assume it originally would have had a speed coil on the top. There's definitely provisions for it, and I assume that probably went bad, or they just wanted a better low. But whoever, I don't know if it was Chandru, I don't know if it was Louis Weedman, I'm not sure, or I mean, could have even been before a collector got it, but yeah, whoever picked this low is a very nice aesthetic low. And it's actually a lot quieter on low too, since it's a capacitor-based speed. Freaking cool fan. And I think I believe it's like 100 watt equivalent LED in there. So, okay, so there's that update. That's definitely a big one. It was definitely interesting getting that up. The fobs I put on it are just those like old school, just kind of plain bell ones. Okay, so now down to the main part where we've all seen before. No updates in this room. Pretty much exactly the same as last time. 52-inch gazebo, 42-inch gazebo, and a couple of Hunter Sierras. These are all doing well. Next room, there is a slight update, nothing big. CEC Georgian is still doing really well. I come to find out this fan is actually the most mullet in this room. I don't think I would have guessed that, but this is Stuart's favorite install in this room. So this was a former Gabe Justice fan. The white original, which is definitely the workhorse for this room, doing really well. The one update is I changed the light bulb in this one. If you remember last time I had a kind of crappy CFL in there that wasn't working especially well, so it now has a 100 watt LED in there. So much better light output, as you can see, nice and bright. But this SMC is doing really well. One other interesting thing that I've never noticed before is there's clearly a initials on the wall here. I've never noticed that before. I think it's FKS. No idea who that could have been, but presumably somebody who worked down here at one point. And then there is the DC52. And yeah, I did a high-speed comparison, just standing under them with both on high, and yeah, this one is definitely more powerful, despite that they are the same motor. So I guess just being those skinnier blades kind of decreases performance a bit. So yeah, that's a neat SMC. Okay, and then the back room, couple of updates. So first of all, the Heritage Lancaster is the same, doing really well. The Harbor Breeze Lakeside 2 is also doing quite well, no difference there. The Hunter Low Profile 2, which was the first fan, also doing well. And then if you remember last time, I put up this Hunter preference. Well, I came to find today that the bearings were not doing so good. It was still running on medium. It was making the like hissy dry bearing sound, and it was stalling out on low. So bearings definitely were not doing so good. I actually did treat them with some oil, and that seemed to help a lot. I think that might explain why the low speed was so slow before, because it was actually just dragging that bad. This looks definitely more like a normal low for a 90s Hunter. So yeah, I did have to oil the bearings, and I also, as you can see, it has a brighter bulb. It's still not quite as bright as I was hoping. It's definitely better. I think that's supposed to be a 100 watt equivalent. Since it's a candelabra base, I don't know if that affects it somehow, but it looks more like a 60 to me. But you know, according to the packaging, it's supposed to be 100. Definitely looks it in the camera, but yeah, no. So this fan's doing a lot better. I think I'm probably still going to go through the speeds, but I do want to show the other big update right here. As I kind of hinted at, I was going to put another fan in that corner because there's kind of nothing there. And what we have here is a Codep wood housing fan, and it's a flush mount. This is a pretty interesting fan. It's definitely a later Codep, probably, you know, later 80s. but it's a pretty neat find, and I've had this one for a while. I was considering selling it, but I figure, you know what, it's kind of neat. It's in pretty good shape. Of course, it does have that wood housing thing where the wood housing itself is a different wood grain than the blades, which is kind of annoying, but a lot of wood housing fans are like that. And we do have that tight weave cane, which is pretty cool. And actually the blades get even cooler, because on the other side is stencil, which is kind of cool, and it's hard to see what it is on there. So I guess if these blades ever warp, I mean, we can flip them over and then we have stencil, so that's kind of cool. But and yeah, and if you're really been keeping up with the youth center basement, you might recognize this light kit. This was actually the one that was on the Donovan Parker original, and I've since moved that over to this one, which, you know, you can tell it's wood grain with antique brass, so it matches well. But yeah, that's a nice light kit, I thought. Looks good on there. Yeah, I don't know the exact year on this one. It's like I said, it's got to be later 80s. There is the badge. I love how even toward the end, I guess it's a FM series, looks like. If that means anything to you, there you go. I like how even these later code ups still use the code up 100 on the logo. But yeah, no, it's just a regular spinner motor, a lot like a CEC spinner motor of the late 80s as well, a lot like those you know, CEC Newport flush mounts, very similar motor. But yeah, neat fan, and I figure, you know what, it's a flush mount, it's complete, again, good runner, why not throw it up? So, all right, so here's with the light off. This is also probably the driest corner of this basement, so I mean, I figure, you know, you'd probably want to put the thing with wood farthest away from any moisture, so this is probably the best spot for it. All right, and let's go to low. This fan actually was seen in a test rig video with Dan and Pete, man, like probably, I don't know, maybe somewhere between 2 and 3 years ago. Probably about 2 years ago. I think it was, yeah, 2022 sounds right. I believe, I could be wrong, but I think Metal Pete actually picked this up at a restore, if I'm not mistaken. And I ended up buying it off of him. It does have a little bit of hum. Nothing too bad. It's on par with everything else in this room. You know, everything's got a little bit of hum, but nothing crazy. Low's a little on the fast side, but not bad. It's definitely got an interesting profile. It almost reminds me of a, almost like a Comfort Breeze type motor housing, because it's very like pronounced on this, like very wide but very like short. All right, there it is, medium. This thing was wobbling like crazy when I first put it up, but I think I got it balanced pretty good. The mounting's pretty interesting on this thing too. It's like some kind of, it almost reminds me of a later model Hampton Bay Littleton. It's like a kind of a cradle that sits in a hanger bit, and then the canopy just goes over it, like kind of like it's actually not terribly far off from a regular ball socket, just very you know, condensed. But so it actually can wobble a little bit. It's like sitting on a rubber bushing basically. But yeah, I think I got that wobble taken care of. Medium's pretty average. It definitely moves some air. And high. Yeah, maybe a tiny bit of wobble, but really nothing. I mean, it was like a death wobble before. Okay, and I'll bump that one back down to low. And then I'm going to briefly go through the speeds again on the preference, just since it clearly was dragging pretty bad, so I don't know if they're probably going to be a little bit better now. That's its low, which definitely looks more like a regular 90s Hunter low. It was noticeably slower than that last time. There is medium. seems like a couple shots of oil definitely did the bearings some help on this one. Yeah, it's funny, the light glares a lot more, but it's still honestly not that bright in this corner. I mean, at least compared to that. I think honestly I may, if I find a better light kit, I may end up switching the light kit out entirely for like a multi-arm one. Honestly, if I could find a Verdi one that matches the housing, that'd be awesome, but those are not exactly easy to find. And there's high. I'm glad it didn't lock up completely, because that would have been not great for the windings. Yeah, definitely running better now, I think, with those oiled bearings, and the light is at least a little bit brighter. That actually looks a lot better on camera. I'll show this one without the light again too, so I guess let's glare a little bit. Oh yeah, that's definitely better. So yeah, that's my one hang up with these wood housing fans, is that the oftentimes the wood grain on the blades is different than the housing. But a lot were made like that, so I don't know, I guess that's just how they did it. Pretty neat. That back on, that's back on. So let's do probably not gonna be able to get every fan in the shot at once because there's so many, but so we have actually 5 in this room. I don't think I'm gonna be able to get them all. Yeah, probably not. The Heritage is kind of off frame. So we have the 4 there. I got the Heritage there, and I don't really want to put one here, because this thing's here, and also B, like we need some walkway to not be dodging fans, but this is probably going to be maxed fans in here. Who knows, may add another one, we'll see, but it's a nice even setup. This is definitely the any finish but white room, and they're all on low. And then do a quick walk by in this room. SMC, Hunter, and Georgian. A little round nose. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So we're up to 14 ceiling fans in the 3-room youth center basement. Not too shabby. So, all right, well, I think I'm gonna wrap it up there. So thanks for watching, and bye, FanStick.